Hey everyone, welcome back to the reactjs course. So in this video, we'll be exploring about prop drilling in React. So if you find this interesting, let's get started right away.
So let's explore about the prop drilling in React. So in the previous videos, we went and explored about something called as props, that is properties in reactjs. So we had done this with the help of an example. So in our example, we had taken the images array, which had a unique ID, the image and the name. And with the help of the map function, we had rendered a single product component. And to the product component, we had sent some data as props, that is the name and image, as you can see over here. And if we go to the product component, we had destructured the values that we passed, that is the name and image. And with the help of JSX, we had rendered that particular item on the screen. Okay, so in today's video, we'll be exploring about prop drilling. That is the next topic of props, and we'll be understanding this with the help of an example. Okay, so pretty much prop drilling is the process of sending data from the top level component through the nested children component and finally to the bottom level component. So this happens in pretty big applications if you are passing data from the top component to the bottom component, as I've told. So let's say you have a three level component. The main component is the app component, and you have that data in the app component, and that data needs to be sent to the third level component. So for that, firstly, you need to pass the data as props from the app component to the second level component, and from the second level component you need to pass it to the third level component to get that value. So pretty much this process goes on until and unless we get that data to that particular level. So this process is pretty much called as prop drilling. Okay, so first let's understand this the prop drilling with the help of an example. So we have already built a counter in the initial videos, so we are going to understand prop drilling as well with the help of a counter. So let us go to our app.js and pretty much let's remove this, that's not required, and let's clean up this array as well. And right at the top, let us initialize our counter with the help of use state. So let's write const counter comma set counter equals to use state. And as you know, the counter takes an initial value of 0, so let's give that initial value of 0. And yeah, use state is imported. So now let's create a component. Okay, the component is going to be counter, and let's open up our file tree and press on new file. So it's going to be counter.js, and let's write rfc to get the shorthand snippet. So to get the shorthand snippets, you need to have installed ES7 inside your systems, that is this one. Yeah, so this is the one you need to install. So let's come back to the app.js, and then over here to the counter component, let's pass some data. That data is going to be the counter value itself. So let's write counter equals to counter, and before that let's import our counter component into the app.js. Okay, so import that right over here and then save the file. Okay, so now counter has been imported. So if you go to the web page, you will see, yeah, you will see the counter text being shown as we have just rendered a div. Okay, so over here let us initialize a h3 tag. Okay, so first let's destructure the value that we got from the app.js, that is this value counter. Okay, so get that value, and inside a h3 tag let's write a message. The value of the counter is, it's gonna be the counter, okay, that we have got from the prop. So save the file. So now if we go back to the web page, you should see the initial value of 0. Okay, so the reason being, inside our app.js we have an initial value inside our state, that is 0, and we are passing that value as prop to the counter component. And inside a counter component we are pretty much destructuring that value, and we are rendering it inside the JSX. Okay, so now let us create another component inside a counter. Okay, so this is going to be, let's say, the button component. Okay, so first let's go create this component in our file tree. So pretty much copy that, open up the file tree, new file. So button component.js, let's write rfce to get the shorthand snippet. So save the file once. So inside a counter, pretty much let's import our button component first. All right, so now if you go back to the web page, you should see the button component being rendered on the screen. Okay, so let's come back to the button component, and over here, instead of this text, we are going to render a basic button. Okay, which is gonna say click me, then save the file. Yeah, so you can see the message coming up over here. So let's provide some spacing towards the button. So let's give some inline styling. Let's say margin top of 10. Okay, yeah, so you can see the button coming up with the space as well. So now if I press on the button, pretty much the counter value should be increased. Now nothing is happening because we have not set the counter to increase the value. So now let's go back to our app.js. Now we have the set counter over here, and we need this set counter inside our button component. Okay, so pretty much we need to pass down the value to the third level. So this is the initial level, so let's write set counter equals to set counter. So now we have passed this to the first level, that is the counter. Okay, so let's receive this as props over here. Okay, so set counter. Okay, so now this set counter is not useful over here, but still for the button component to work, we need to pass this data to the third level. So over here, let's pass that over. So set counter is going to be set counter. Okay, so save the file. So now we have access to the set counter inside a button component after passing it down 2 levels. Okay, so let's access that value, restructure it, and let's initialize the on click event on the button, so that if we click on it, we should see the counter value increasing. Okay, let's take in a function. Let's write set counter. Let's access it from the props. So set counter, come on, let's write counter, and we are going to say counter plus 1. Okay, so save the file once. So let's go back to our web page. Now if I press on click me, pretty much the value should be increased to 1. So let's give that a try. Yeah, so as you can see, we are able to access the set counter, and we are increasing the value by 1. And yeah, so this is how it works, and we have passed the data from the app component to the second level, that is the button component, and we're able to access the set counter. So this is pretty much an example of prop drilling. That is, we are passing the set counter from one component to the another component, even though this is not used here, that is set counter. But for this to work inside the button component, we need to pass this as props, that is to the final level. So this is how the prop drilling works. So to prevent prop drilling, we have mini state management tools. That is, we can use Redux or Recoil, or we can use React Context API to prevent this, and we'll be exploring this in the coming video, so don't need to worry. So this is an example of prop drilling, as I told. Yeah, I think that's it for this video. Let's see you in the next video, and then thank you for watching.